The film begins with Danny expressing concern about her parents, who are unresponsive to her calls. Seated at her computer, she repeatedly reads her sister's ominous message, questioning its meaning. Feeling uncertain, Danny reaches out to her boyfriend for reassurance. He dismisses her sister's email as another attention-seeking act, leaving Danny slightly upset as he appears unaware of her sister's bipolar condition. Despite being in tears, she reluctantly agrees with his perspective. Well, who needs a therapist when you've got a boyfriend who's a part-time psychic, right? Following the call, Danny anxiously paces around her apartment while discussing her relationship with a friend. Concerned about being too needy, her friend suggests that if her boyfriend feels that way, he might not be the right one. But hey, if he's not Mr. Right, at least he's Mr. Right now. During the conversation, Danny sends another email to her sister and unexpectedly receives a second call from an unknown number. Meanwhile, Christian, Danny's boyfriend, is out with friends discussing their relationship. They advise him to end things due to her perceived overbearing nature, but he fears potential regret. When he receives another call from Danny, he leaves the table to answer. Christian answers the phone to hear Danny screaming and crying on the other end. He rushes to her apartment, where he finds her inconsolable. Later, he comforts her as she continues to cry uncontrollably, revealing the devastating news that her entire family has perished. Simultaneously, firefighters break into her parents' house and discover them deceased in their bed. It is revealed that her sister has taken her own life, bringing their parents with her. Talk about a family reunion going up in flames, literally. Later on, Danny lies on her bed, consumed by depression. Christian enters and informs her of his plan to attend a party. Despite his lack of enthusiasm, Danny expresses her intention to join him. At the party, her interest is piqued by a conversation among Christian and his friends, Pelle, Josh, and Mark, discussing a summer trip to Sweden that the group had been planning, and Danny learns about it for the first time, realizing the trip is just 2 weeks away. Back at her apartment, Danny confronts Christian about why he didn't inform her about the trip. Despite his attempts to evade the issue, Danny insists on understanding why he wasn't upfront with her. She clarifies that she doesn't have an issue with him going on the trip. She just desires openness. Although Christian apologizes, Danny emphasizes that she doesn't need an apology, only honesty. Worried he might leave, she then inquires about his participation in the trip due to his thesis, to which he replies that he hasn't decided on that yet. Maybe he's majoring in advanced procrastination. Sometime later, Christian hangs out with his friends, discussing the upcoming trip to Sweden. Danny calls him to inform him that she'll be joining them shortly. While waiting, Christian reveals to his friends that he invited her on the trip, even though she likely won't go despite initially saying yes. They express their displeasure with him, but agree to act as if they were aware of the invitation and assure him that they don't have a problem with it. When Danny arrives, they greet her warmly but exhibit awkwardness. Mark then asks Christian to join him in another room. Welcome to the Club of Awkward welcomes Danny. Membership. You. Pelle engages in a conversation with Danny, while Josh pointedly ignores her. She inquires about the week he had planned for the group in his village, as it coincides with her upcoming birthday. Pelle shares that it's a 9-day festival celebrated by his small community and impresses her with photos from past festivities. Suddenly, he sincerely expresses his happiness that she'll be joining them and offers condolences about her parents, revealing his own experience with loss. Overwhelmed, Danny becomes upset and rushes to the bathroom. On the plane to Europe, Danny finds solace in tears in the toilet. Upon arrival in Sweden, they drive to Pelle's village in the northern part of the country. The group stops in a field where other young people have gathered. Pelle's brother Ingmar greets them and introduces friends Simon and Connie. Ingmar offers them some shrooms, and despite initial reluctance, they all partake, including Danny. Later, they sit under a tree, experiencing the effects of the drug, while Mark struggles with the experience. Pelle guides them through the journey, discussing the surrounding nature. During the trip, Danny hears distant singing and panics, walking past a group of people who laugh at her. Ingmar tries to calm her, but she escapes to the bathroom. Inside, she endures a disturbing hallucination, and then dreams about her family. Upon waking, Christian informs her that they've been waiting for her for 6 hours. The entire group of young people walks through the woods, eventually reaching the village where the community welcomes them, adorned in festival attire and playing music. Danny, despite her earlier turmoil, embraces the serene atmosphere, smiling and taking it all in. 6 hours in a bathroom must be a new record, even for hallucination standards. Pelle greets one of the elders, who welcomes them warmly and informs them that the official festivities will commence the next day. Intrigued by music, they follow the sound to the village center, where Elder Siv extends greetings and wishes them a happy midsummer. She notes that it's been 90 years since their last feast and predicts another 90 until the next one. They raise their glasses in a cheerful toast. Meanwhile, the disabled child is shown drawing, not participating in the ceremony. Siv passes a torch to an older woman and then to an older man, making a proclamation to the heavens. Meanwhile, Maya prepares in a washroom, joining the celebration as music starts outside. Observing the group sitting on the sidelines as villagers dance around them, she playfully kicks Christian's bottom as she passes by. Eventually, Christian and Josh join in the dance. Pelle presents Danny with a birthday gift and apologizes on Christian's behalf for forgetting her birthday, expressing gratitude for the portrait. As the festivities continue, Pelle guides the group on a tour of the village, addressing Josh's inquiries about the community. They witness children having a lesson in the grass, learning about the power of ancient runes. Connie questions Danny and Christian about the duration of their relationship, receiving conflicting answers. During the tour, Christian spots a distant building, revealed to be a sacred temple off-limits to outsiders. The group splits up, and as Einmar and his guests pass by a caged bear, he unfolds a long parchment recounting a love story. Pelle leads his friends to their shared accommodation, a beautifully decorated cabin used by the entire community. While exploring, Danny discovers a wall adorned with photos of the May Queens. Intrigued, she draws the attention of the entire group. Christian calls her outside and attempts to cover up forgetting her birthday, singing to her while trying to light a candle. When Danny sees through the ruse, Christian apologizes, and she blows out the candle. Nothing says, "I totally remembered your birthday," like a last-minute, half-lit candle serenade. That night, everyone prepares for bed, and Pelle mentions the significance of the first day of the festival. Although Josh is aware of the importance, neither he nor Pelle divulges details to the rest. Christian expresses a desire to search for information but lacks cell service. The next day, the festivities for the first day of the festival begin. The community gathers at a communal table in front of the sacred temple. Christian questions how long they'll have to stand, and Pelle explains they'll sit when it feels right. Danny approaches and gives Christian flowers. A boy rings a bell, signaling the arrival of the elderly couple from the previous day. The couple sits, and everyone follows suit. Josh inquires if they are the ones, and Pelle confirms. The couple begins eating, and the others join. Mark notices a girl he likes on the opposite side of the table. Danny converses with a woman who shares that the community collectively raises the children. The couple stands to perform a ritual, and everyone stands and drinks in their honor. Subsequently, they are carried away on chairs, and the crowd follows, except for Mark. Gathered around a large cliff, the community awaits a sacred custom. The couple is carried to the top, accompanied by distant horn sounds. Josh stands next to Pelle, asking if he can read the scrolls that one of the elders is reciting. The elderly man and woman at the top of the cliff cut their hands, painting ancient runes with their blood. The woman jumps first, crashing to the ground, shocking Danny. Einmar attempts to calm a distraught Simon and Connie. Subsequently, the man jumps but lands on his feet and is not killed. However, he is beaten to death with a wooden hammer. The foreigners, including Danny, are in shock, and Siv explains the custom to them, emphasizing the community's joy in this sacrifice. She assures them that when it's her turn, it will be a joyful event, giving their lives before it can spoil. Talk about taking cliffhanger to a whole new level. Sif turns to Danny, advising against avoiding the inevitable as it corrupts the spirit. The community walks back to the village, with the foreigners at the front and Danny on the verge of falling apart. Christian returns to the cabin and finds Josh working on his thesis. Christian reveals he has decided to focus his thesis on the village as well, angering Josh, who had planned to write about the Midsummer Festival. Despite Josh's objection, Christian insists on pursuing the same subject and offers collaboration or separate theses on the same topic. Josh rushes to Pelle to discuss the matter, but Pelle informs him that it doesn't matter what they want to write about, as the elders are protective of their rituals. Pelle promises to talk to the elders to address Josh's concerns. Amidst the unfolding events, a frantic Danny packs her belongings, but Pelle approaches her to apologize, expressing his desire to share the experience with his friends. Danny, overwhelmed and confused, tells him she doesn't understand anything. Pelle empathizes with her, revealing that he lost his parents in a fire as a child and found a new family in the community. He wants to offer her the same sense of belonging. Because nothing says, "Welcome to the family," like a story of tragic loss and a community that's more than a little offbeat. Later, the bodies of the elderly couple are disposed of in a ritualistic manner. Christian checks on Danny, who questions if he was disturbed by what they witnessed. He attributes it to cultural differences and suggests acclimating to the community's ways. That night, Danny asks Josh for a sleeping pill, but is still awakened by noises. Discovering empty beds around her, she follows some people outside, witnessing Christian and his friends leaving. In her nightmare, images of the ritual and her family appear, and she screams, waking up in distress. Maya, awake, places something under Christian's bed, observed by Josh. On the second day of the festival, Danny sleeps late while Pelle gardens. Mark and Josh approach Pelle about the thesis, learning that they can write it, but without using real names or the location, and must collaborate with Christian. Josh questions Pelle about the item Maya left under Christian's bed, learning it's a love rune. Pelle informs Christian about the thesis news and hints at Maya's interest in him. A man screams, running toward Mark, who is urinating on a dead tree. Pelle explains its significance, and Connie informs Danny that Simon and she are leaving. Upset, Danny tells Christian, who remains indifferent and continues discussing mate approval within the community. An elder informs Connie that her fiancé has left, planning to meet her at the train station. Devastated, she can't believe he would leave and expresses her anguish. Danny, sharing the news with Christian, is met with a lack of concern. Meanwhile, a woman invites Danny to cook with them, providing her with an apron for making meat tarts. Maya prepares a special one. Simultaneously, Josh engages in a conversation with an elder about the sacred scrolls. The sacred scrolls continually change, and the final version is created by a disabled child who draws on the blank pages, interpreted by the elders. The elder explains that their oracles result from deliberate inbreeding to maintain unclouded minds open to the source. Meanwhile, Mark searches around the sacred temple for the girl he likes, and a child calls him for dinner. They are served meat pies, and when Danny inquires about Connie, she learns that the villager drove her to meet Simon at the station. Upset, Danny comments on the possibility of Christian doing something similar. The man, still angered by Mark's actions, causes further tension, leading to arguments between Josh and Christian. During dinner, Josh discovers a pubic hair in his pie, and tension escalates. Mark is called away by the girl he likes. Later, Danny asks Josh for another sleeping pill, and he sneaks into the cabin to photograph the sacred scroll. Mark catches him, but realizes something is wrong as he approaches. Suddenly, Josh is struck over the head, and the disabled child, wearing Mark's face, approaches the unconscious Josh. Just when you thought dinner couldn't get any worse, a pubic hair pie and an unexpected knockout add to the evening's festivities. The next day, Christian wakes up to find Josh missing from his bed. At breakfast, Danny inquires about Mark and Josh, but Christian seems unconcerned. The elders express concern about the missing friends, and Christian implicates Josh. Pelle, feeling responsible, joins Danny with the other women, while Christian meets with Sive. A special tea is prepared for the young women, and Danny drinks it as well. The ritual, known as the competition, is about to start when Danny realizes the tea likely contained mushrooms. An older woman announces the beginning of the competition, and the women start dancing in a circle. Meanwhile, Christian, at Siv's home, learns that he has been approved to mate with Maya, according to the iconography on her walls. The women continue dancing, and one by one, they drop down and out of the competition. Christian joins the crowd that watches the dance, and one of the women gives him some of the mushroom tea. He glances at Maya and drinks it. Meanwhile, Danny keeps getting dizzy while dancing, but she doesn't stop or fall over. Only 3 of them are left when she suddenly starts speaking in Swedish with one of the other girls. As they laugh and dance, the other 2 run into each other. Danny is the only one left. Everyone stands up and circles her. The older woman crowns her as the May Queen. She gets her picture taken, and as they walk her away, Pelle comes over and kisses her. They lift her in the air and take her to the table. Danny sits at the head, and everyone follows her every move. When Christian sits down, she begins to eat, and everyone else does as well. He doesn't understand what's happening and starts feeling the effects of the tea. The entire village cheers for the May Queen. They tell her that she's part of the family now. Maya calls Christian to follow her into the barn, and Danny notices that something is happening. Siv tells Danny that she has to bless their crops as the queen and doesn't allow Christian to come with her. She enters a carriage being pulled by some of the young women from the village. As she's driven away, Christian gets asked to go to the barn again, as the rest of the villagers stand for him. Danny blesses the crops in a traditional ritual while Christian is being prepared by the elders to mate with Maya. They drug him again and lead him into where the girl is waiting for him, together with other women. Danny's off blessing crops while Christian's gearing up for a very different kind of field work. Danny is still performing the blessing ritual. Christian makes love to Maya as the other women sing to her and to him as well. The May Queen comes back to the village, and one of the women tells her that Siv is expecting her. She hears something happening in the barn and goes to check what it is, regardless of the woman's pleas not to. Danny peeks inside and sees what is happening. She goes outside and starts screaming. The women take her away and get her to her bed. She freaks out, and the other women start mimicking her cries. And just like that, Danny's reign as May Queen turns from a fairy tale into a nightmare, complete with a live chorus of sympathetic screamers. Christian is done with his part of the ritual and storms out of the barn. He gets confused and disoriented, trying to run away when he sees a foot planted in the garden. Christian hides in a shed where he finds Simon's dead body. An elder sneaks up on him and drugs him again. He gets woken up by a woman who tells him that he can't speak or move. The final midsummer ritual begins with Danny at its head. Soup proclaims that 9 sacrifices will be made to the village. 4 of their own, 4 foreigners, and 1 chosen by the queen. 2 of their own have already given their lives, and 2 have volunteered. One of which is Ingmar Pell, is honored for bringing them new blood. Danny has to choose the last of the 9. It is between a local and Christian. She makes her choice, because nothing says tough decision like choosing between your underwhelming boyfriend and a local you barely know for a ritual sacrifice. The bodies are being taken to the sacred temple at the foot of the village and are carefully placed inside. The final is being prepared by the elders and a few children. They open up the bear's body and place Christian inside of it, still alive. The elders bless the offering and give the 2 villagers drugs. The temple is ritually set on fire as the entire community is gathered outside witnessing the offering. Everything inside gets burned away, and the villagers convulse and cry, feeling the pain of their people inside. The May Queen looks onto the burning temple and cracks a final grin. If you enjoyed this video, check out another video popping up on your screen now.